Here we go. And we're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Shirley Broussard. I am the Assistant Director of Student Activities here at the Winston-Salem State University. Tonight, we're doing a series that we use every year to kick off Black History Month, and it's called The Miseducation of. It's in a tribute to Carter G. Woodson, who is the creator and founder of Black History Month. He's also a member of Omega Psi Phi. So as we introduce the panelists, just know that I always make sure that we have representation on our panel in the memory of Carter G. Woodson. Our subject tonight is Our Voice, Our Vote, Our Future. The panelists that we have are alum of different universities, and they will speak from aspects of where they are in the world currently. Some of the subjects that we will touch on will be government, mental health, education, social media, and music. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up my moderator for the evening, Mr. Marquis Crews. How are you doing? Wait a minute, let me unmute you. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. Thank you so much for considering being a part of this for the second year. We have a lot of fun through these conversations, mainly because we have to find a way to kind of smile through the pain. And I think a lot of what we will speak about, or you all will speak on tonight, touches on what we're dealing with in the world. And I know there will be some serious times, but there's one person in particular that will be on the panel. I know he's going to give a lot of history and background on some things. So I'm excited about this conversation. The one thing I got to touch on right now, how did you feel about Super Bowl last night?
Yeah, it was great. Hey, I enjoyed the Bad Bunny performance. It was I couldn't understand it, but fortunately I had a friend that was Cuban, so he was translating some of the words.
As the show was happening, he's translating.
He was filling us in on some of the points and some of the history behind some of the things. So it was
nice.
It was good. They looked like they had a good time. And what I know about Latin music is they know how to party, and it looked like a big party. But the game itself, yeah, I enjoyed halftime. But big ups to the Seattle.
Close to the building.
Oh, they did the thing there. They did their thing.
If you could quickly, before we bring on our panel, introduce yourself to everyone and let them know like who you are, what you're all about.
All right, everybody. My name's again Marquis Crews. I am from Henderson, North Carolina, up in Vance County. I did undergrad at Fayetteville State University and did my master's degree in public administration from North Carolina Central. I currently work with the state in the Office of State Budget Management in their Pandemic Recovery Office, doing some grants management for federal pandemic funds that came to help the state rebound from the pandemic. On the side, I do a part of an organization called Groove Social Fellowship Incorporated. It's been a big help in me developing as a young man. And then I'm also a part of an organization called Black Jedi Zulu, which is a social organization based here in the Triangle area, but we have members all around, and we just go out and protect the arts and just do the best we can to support communities and just use what we got to make the world a better place and get people smiling and get people grooving together.
That's what I'm talking about. Real quick, as you can see, if you are on and you drop a comment either on the WSSU Facebook page, or if you happen to be following my personal YouTube and also WSSU YouTube page. So YouTube for WSSU, myself, and then Facebook for WSSU. If you drop some comments, want to say hello, Makai, one of my former students. Hey, bud, I'll drop that. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask of the panel, drop those as well, and we'll make sure to get them up on the screen. So without further ado, I'm going to continue to introduce our panel. I think I told you one order, but I'm just going to go with who I see on. Richard, I'm going to bring you on up. Let me get this going. How you doing?
How's it going? Good afternoon, everybody. So thanks for having me on tonight. My name is Richard Watkins. I am from Henderson, North Carolina. I got the chance to meet my my brother there, Marquis. I didn't know he was from Henderson too as well, but we got a chance to chat for a little bit and found that we had some things in common as far as for our hometown. I graduated from Winston-Salem State University as well. I'm currently working with Forsyth Tech Community College as the coordinator of counseling and services there. And I'm also a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, where I serve as the Psi Phi chapter bossless. So that's a little bit about me. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for again, this is your first time. This won't be your last. All right. Well, go Rams. All right. Speaking of go Rams, let's bring on Mr. Rashad Little.
What's going on, everybody?
I can only call you one of the founders of this because you've been a part of this.
Oh, that was crazy.
No, you're
that
definitely
was crazy. Leading
into
the conversation is crazy.
Oh, that's how I do it. Yeah. Rashad, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man, as Shalik mentioned, I'm a 10+ year veteran of higher education. I'm also a business curator of Candid Yams Kickback as well, and so done a lot of things in the community, mostly education and business focused. And as Shalik mentioned, I am a Winston-Salem State University Ram. Go Rams in all aspects, including the girls basketball team who just beat Fayetteville State the other day, by the way. So just want to go ahead and put that out there. I don't know how many Broncos we got on the line, but just wanted to put that out there. All right.
And it's funny because we were right before we opened this call. I was like, uh-oh. I was asking who won the game. For everyone to know, Saturday was my birthday, so I wasn't paying attention to any games on Saturday. But look,
Mr. Crews, you know who won or?
Uh-oh.
No.
Yeah. I mean, hey, man, it's all in the game. It's competition. Y'all got your payback because when that trip to Fayetteville wasn't that friendly for you. So, it's all good.
We'll see you in Baltimore.
As we see how this is going to go this evening. Love it.
It's all HBCU love, man. For real.
Last but not least, we're going to bring on my Spartan brother. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but if you know him, he's a legend, 102 Jams, DJ, all the good stuff. Y'all give it up for DJ Capital J. And hold up, I think I can actually do applause. Hold up, this is something new. Hold up. All right, let me try this. This is something new. I want to try it out. Let me see.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
I was born in Greenville. I graduated from high school from Tarboro High School in Tarboro, North Carolina. Went to UNCG. Graduated from there in 95 and spent 11 years on 102 Jams. Then I did a stint here in Raleigh on 95.3. That's the throwback station. I've been working for iHeartMedia for 25 years, since 2000, for a division called Media Base, and they track music. So I do music research. So that's what I've been doing.
What is it to do? I just got to ask, what is it to do music research?
Well, well, first of all, take the app Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was Shazam, that was an app or something that we used to lease to help identify music. What it doesn't identify, we feed it in. Now the computer knows, and the computer can do this stuff. But it takes people physically identifying the songs first. And then they went off to become Shazam, and we have another software that we use. But we're the real people behind the software. So every time you use anything that's identifying music research is those people.
Okay.
Unidentified songs. That's what I do all day.
So that just takes me back. I just have to say, when I was at 102 Jams back in my college days, you were the one that taught me. We used to have to take the CDs and we had to organize them and put them in the little shelf things, and like we'd have the new music, the new singles and all that, and then you'd be riding in your car, we'd be playing music, and nobody could ever like connect to what we had because we was getting it like first before anybody else. Now people can just upload it, and you can't be the first one with first dibs on music anymore. But you know what? We ain't gonna get into that. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Did I pull everybody up? I sure did. All right. Marquis, you go ahead and take control. I'm gonna step back. And again, everyone, please make sure to post your questions or your comments, and we'll make sure to get to them. But I'm going to hand it over to the men of the show. Y'all have fun.
All right, fellas. It's going to be interesting. We got a couple of questions that were sent over earlier. I'm try to filter through them and kind of sort through, and I'm gonna try to bounce around and connect it the best I can. But pretty much, I'm gonna hit one of you with a prompt, let you get your response, and then give an opportunity for other two gentlemen to chime in if they like, and then we'll try to move. But try to keep it moving the best we can. But definitely want to give you the floor. So just be conscious of your time. But we're not gonna rush anybody off. But just try to get through as many of these as we can. But we don't have to get through all of them. And hey, if you got something good, though, let me know. I'll definitely throw it to you. Throw an alley up if it's available. All right. So to start the conversation, and especially since this is, we're doing this for the students. We want to make sure we want to get a student something to digest and give them the opinions of these gentlemen here. So for starters, I want to start with Rashad. Here's a question. How does social media shape the way young people understand political and social issues?
So it could shape in two ways, right? It's good for informing, like it'll give you every possible analogy, right? But then, I think that offline could help them identify, the history behind those decisions, right? Because as we all know, history does nothing but repeat itself. But with social media, you also have to be cognizant of the fact that people have agendas, right? And they will put up a left or right wing agenda for you. And so the thing is, the negative thing about that is that when you're finding out information, if you've trained your algorithm to look at, certain videos, it will give you those videos, right? Which could then cloud your perception of what your world, your inner world is seeing, right? So then, where it could impact you if you're not seeing that there are two sides to every story. There's this side, that side, or your side, right? If your brain is not able to process that there are two sides and that this algorithm has been feeding you the right side of this conversation, you need to also, go to the left side of the conversation as well. And so sometimes with us in our community, we probably don't realize that because we're just scrolling and it's entertainment for us. But then when the serious issues kind of come up, you need to be able to deduct those, and you can't do that if you're not understanding what's happening to you there.
No, that's a good response. It actually made me think of a joke that when you think about sides of a story, instead of two sides, it's three sides. You got my side, your side, and the truth. The truth always lies somewhere in the middle, neither on one of the extremes there.
That's right. And also you need to understand that there are feelings-based arguments as well, right? Because sometimes, your feelings are not facts, right? But in this world of today, there's a internet world and then there's a real world, right? So those of us that are both analog and digital, we understand that, something that you say online could impact you offline, right? And I think that if you spend too much time online, you could find out in a real way offline, right? How your words or your actions or the things that you say could really get you caught up.
No, definitely. Because that has to be tough for this younger generation navigating. Because they're growing up totally online compared to our generation. This was something new, and we knew that this wasn't reality. And then for these younger folks, this is their reality and what they're growing up. And just one follow-up question before I open it up to the other two gentlemen for their responses kind of on this topic is, what are some signs that this social media use could be negatively impacting their mental health, especially with the flood of these political ads and propaganda that's out there?
Yeah, so some of the negative aspects that could impact them is what I was saying, the brain and how it thinks, right? Because, this is not a panel to discuss the delivery of K through 12 education in Are we okay? Y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. This is not a panel to discuss. Richard said the screen went black. To discuss K through 12 education and how it's being delivered to our youth, but all of us know that there are some obvious holes in how information is distributed to students and how they process that information is very critical. The way it shows up is in an online forum where you're not able to see that this is your algorithm is feeding you different stories, different reels, different frames of thought for a reason, right? Based off of what and how you think, right? And so the thing is, it could be negative in a sense where if you don't know how to think about that information and how to comprehend that information, you could end up forming an opinion on something that is totally unhealthy to you and maybe yourself and your family and all of that. And again, this is where I was talking about offline and online. When you start voicing those opinions and views with your friends and or family, and they start telling you, man, go sit down somewhere, man, that's not realistic, it could be very difficult for you to kind of rebound. But then again, you just live and learn from that particular aspect. But that mental space, if you're not strong enough, you could think that the world is against you, and they're not against you, because difference in opinion is going to be a part of life, right? We may not agree on this panel tonight, but like if someone's not able to deal with that, because we also all of us look like we grew up in that generation where first place was first place, second place was second place, right? There's not a lot of trophy participation where everyone got a trophy, and in this generation where sometimes you get everybody gets a prize regardless of how you put in the effort. We know that sometimes the real world is not reflective of that.
No, and one point of clarification, when you mention training the algorithm, can you kind of just define that a little bit so people understand what you mean with that one?
Sure. So the things that you click on are connected to different mathematical bots, so to speak. So if you're clicking on houses, let's just say you're looking for a new house. If you're clicking on houses, it will continue to give you versions of houses that you've been looking for, because in the digital media marketing space, they follow us around the internet anyway, right? So that's why if you click on a marketing ad and then you go to another page, you see it in your email. Somebody might text you, somebody might call you, somebody might just show you ads for the next 4 or 5 days. So you kind of train your algorithm in what you've been looking for and what you're seeing, and it kind of gives you that information without you even thinking about it. And so to retrain it, you have to make sure that you're putting in things that are positive, things that kind of upbuild, so on and so forth, to retrain your algorithm, because it just learns the way that you want to watch information and gives that to you.
Cool. Thank you for that clarification there. I was aware of it, when I want to make sure people understand that it's the way. Oh man, the way these things work, they're all connected. And one thing about social media and your email services and all the stuff online that we use, when you get something for free, you're the product, not necessarily what you're using. So they're taking everything that we use and using that, turning that back around and selling it, and selling that metadata to companies for marketing, and it's cycling back around and feeding back into you for a loop. And I think one of the things we're learning in media is, with this media consolidation and the folks who own all of these different social media platforms, is how they're using that when it comes to this political environment, and how those algorithms are, how they're manipulated a little bit. So I guess while we're waiting on Richard's kind of screen to get back, double J, I'm sorry, capital J. Did you have any follow-up to that question or those prompts?
I'm talking about social media and the youth. I think one of the tough parts about having young people have so much information on hand is not only just the misinformation part of it. Like you have so much false information, and when people are learning, especially in the younger ages, I think they need a guide for some information, because it can be used in a bad way to promote the wrong ideologies. and information should be presented in an unbiased fashion. And most people, when information is presented in an unbiased fashion, will form an opinion that probably aligns with most people. But when you're fed this information from a perspective, then it can be twisted. And I think that's the problem with young people in social media, having access to so much information without the proper context, without the whole story. And that's why teachers being undervalued is, social media is it's a big teacher. And when people spend time on there, it's telling you that young people want to learn. All they're doing is feeding their brain. They're constantly learning. They seek information all day, but they're getting it from the wrong teachers. And I think that's a problem with social media consumption for the youth. They're not ready for that type of information without the proper context, and they need a guide.
No, I get you. A lot of knowledge without wisdom that will not lead to a level of understanding that's going to be productive. I'm with you on that. Richard, are you back up? Sound working?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Got a little feedback there.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I was trying to give you a little bit of time. There we go. Got feedback there. We'll give you a second on that one. We'll move to the next question here. Capital J. I got a good one for you because I want to hear your opinion on this one. Music historically reflected social unrest and political change. What are the similarities you see between like a Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" and Childish Gambino's "This Is America"?
I think first of all, the first thing that stands out is if Childish Gambino had come out with "This Is America," let's say 30 years ago, probably would have been a hit song. In the Black community, it was almost a no-brainer to make a song about the struggle we're going through, and it'll resonate with us, we'll support it, and it'll become a movement. It happened with "What's Going On," self-destruction, over and over again. Somebody makes a Black anthem, we support it, fight the power, whatever it is. And "This Is America" came and went. And as a DJ, I can tell you that song didn't make as much of an impact as maybe the video did. The video's like, ooh, Childish Gambino did this. But the actual song didn't make the impact. And it was kind of disappointing that, that this is where we are now, because normally people just pick up on it just because it's what Black people always, they always gravitate towards the anthem. And if, it was a moment that came and went, and we don't really get that anymore. We don't have anybody really speaking to that anymore. So, I thought it was a good idea, but it's what's going on, and, I can't say it's because I can also say that, keeping it a buck, it wasn't a song that probably would have resonated with most of us anyway. No matter what he was talking about on that song, I don't think it would have been a hit. So I can't just blame the content all the way. And that's just being honest. You know what I mean?
No, I feel you on that. Yeah. All right. When I was looking at that one, what I was kind of thinking also was just the way, the way we consume media and the importance of music back in the day compared to the impact that it has on people now. Now, it said to drop, it said our phone. We can pick up our phone and play anything. You don't have to, artists don't have to make a whole album front to back because nobody has to flip the record over or stuff. Compared to Marvin Gaye, they was listening to vinyl, 8-track, So all them jams had to hit for something, you know what I'm saying? People had to listen to the whole song. You couldn't skip through stuff. And they but also people didn't have as much variety in their music. So, you know, when they got a song like What's Going On, if it's groovy, people gonna listen to it again and again and again. And if it has a message in it, it's gonna sink into people more compared to this kind of microwave. You get it. If it ain't bopping, you know, you don't consume it as much.
I have a theory that, you know, we're being dumbed down over time. And it starts in the music. Like the stuff Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and all those people were making through the 70s and 80s was sophisticated and intricate. And, you know, it lit your brain up. There's so much going on. The drums here, there's a guy just on some chimes. You know, it's a real person doing that.
Yeah.
So your brain, you know, your brain is lit up. He's singing. The song changes up halfway through. You know, there's a lot going on. Over time, there's nothing going on in a song to keep a brain active. It's repetitive. You know, whatever happens within 4 bars will be repeated for the entirety of the song. And that's not designed to spark the intellect. And over time, even what people are talking about doesn't make you seek information anymore. So I think I think we're in a bad place. I really do. You know what I mean? I think we're in a bad place. I struggle with it, you know, because hey, I love our people, but I play some horrible music, man. That's you know, and it's been dumbing people down over time. I seen it. The production, like you think it's just the lyrics. It's not just the lyrics. It's the value of the production. All of that stuff creates, you know, geniuses. You know what I mean? Like if Prince hadn't listened to somebody, he's not going to learn to play 12, 13 instruments. Who do you have that's on the forefront right now that will inspire that type of genius? In our community that we're holding up, who?
Kendrick Lamar.
Now he can rap, but he can't play an instrument. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
But, so here's the thing:
the full scope of genius. We're talking about Marvin Gaye, who played drums for Smokey Robinson and wrote the song. You know.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where I think connectivity comes in, because if you listen to a lot of these artists, they will tell you that they've listened to those artists. They'll tell you that they've been inspired by those artists. And so in today's game, there may not be as many people on instruments, but you got to look at them visuals as well, right? Because, you know, looking at that entire Super Bowl performance from Kendrick Lamar and the archetype of that performance and them visuals, you can't tell me that there was not artistic genius in that itself, right? Just the whole breakdown of the whole Drake versus Kendrick Lamar piece, to your point about music not being authentic. Kendrick was literally representing that piece of authenticity that Drake clearly missed out on, right? Because the whole premise behind that, and people missed the entire thing, was the fact that Drake thought that he could not be mentioned with the rest of hip hop, even though he borrowed from everybody, right? So the thing is that Kendrick was like, look, man, you got to stop going to people's cities trying to claim their city. And you this, you know, guy from Canada that's rapping and singing, and people love you for that. But he thought that he was too big for hip hop, right? And so Kendrick came on the scene, to your point about, you know, just rapping. And he just wanted to y'all's point, you know, for those of us that grew up with the rap battles of the world and understand, you know, wordplay and all of that, Kendrick is like, look, man, let me put my best bar against your best bar, right? But see, Drake couldn't do that because Drake, you know, for all intents and purposes, is there for a certain rhythmic display, right, of his talent, right? He's there to sell records. But the whole piece about Kendrick, you know, this whole download of hip hop from the top of last year all the way through the Super Bowl was Kendrick literally dismantling two things: a rapper like Drake that only thinks that record sales are king, because you've been in the game a minute, Capital J, and you could tell me right now, just because you sell a lot of records doesn't make you an artist. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Or just because you sell a lot of records doesn't mean your record is a good record, right? Or whatever have you, right? And so Kendrick was literally making that point there. So there are some things in there. I could go all day with the Tyler Creators of the world, has beautiful visuals and all this sort of stuff in his music as well. But also, yeah. And also, what J. Cole is doing right now, right? With his album that he just dropped. And so, to your point about This Is America, though, Mr. Crews, I think with This Is America, it also depends on when that music drops, what the community is going through as well. Because to your point about what's going on, the 60s and that 70s era right in there where what's going on was, dropping, there was a lot of civil unrest in the Black community, right? So like they needed, someone to speak to that, right? We've been going through civil unrest now too, but the thing is that civil unrest is being displayed in a noisy place, which is the internet, right? So when you see This Is America, how many times have they seen that image? How many times have they seen that story? So you get this thing in your brain where you get tired of looking at that image, and it may not go all the way. But that's the reason I bring up a Kendrick Lamar in that sense, because with Kendrick Lamar, people get tired of seeing, certain frameworks and certain descriptions about who we are as a people. And they do want to see different anthems about the Black diaspora, as well as the Black and brown diaspora. People talking crap about Bad Bunny right now, right? And so that shows us right there that people is just like, yo, this is America,
And let me add something about Kendrick Lamar. That also speaks to where we are right now. Kendrick Lamar, very popular. Everybody loves Kendrick Lamar. Back in the day when you had an artist and he became popular doing a certain thing, everybody did that thing. Where are the Kendrick Lamar copiers? Who else decided to take it to that level of art? Even when we can hold up an artist like Kendrick Lamar, it still doesn't create the type of interest to create a whole bunch of Kendrick Lamars that we have. Like, where's the trickle-down effect? And when did Kendrick Lamar really blow through the roof? His most negative moment. I'm not, and that's no diss to Kendrick Lamar. I think Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest hip-hop artists we have right now. Mm-hmm. But look what they held up to introduce Kendrick Lamar to the world after all he's done that we know about. Look what they hold up. A fight. You see what I mean? That's what they give you. Like, that's not what Kendrick Lamar is. His whole totality of his work is not the beef with Drake. What was the thing that pushed him over the top?
Yeah. And I think, to your point, arts is not in the school as heavy either, right? So the thing is, it's like where the trickle down effect is, we don't hold. This is where the community is going to come in as well, because we give our students to that school, and we expect the school itself to do everything for our kids too. So that's another thing. Back in the day, we had community as well. So just as much as they were playing instruments in them schools, they were also playing instruments in the church. They were playing instruments at them community centers and all of that sort of stuff. So that where that spark comes from is us being in the community. But also, to your point, I think the Kendrick and Drake beef definitely put him on a global stage. But Kendrick also, people forget that he also had Grammys before that. He had a Grammy before that as well. So so it's just one of those things.
So does Rhapsody, but we didn't get more Rhapsodies either. Yeah, good as she is, and all the positivity she speaks, people are not honing in on. But no, we don't want to argue the music. Yeah.
No.
This is good.
We'll come back to that, but I think we just hit a good segue point. And when you, especially the point when you mentioned about the communities and churches, Richard, I got a question for you, or at least I think I'm gonna throw two back to you, because I want to kind of this is for the students. We want to make sure we keep this centered towards how all of this stuff is affecting our younger folks. And the first question that I want to throw to you is kind of, what role does the community play in maintaining a healthy mindset in these uncertain times? We got young folks that are coming, that are coming up with us, but and the parents are doing the best they can. The folks in the community that are in person with them are doing the best they can, but they got access to social media, so the whole world is throwing crap at them with these crazy algorithms, mixing it all up. But from kind of where we've went so far in this conversation. Okay, I thought I heard something, but yeah, from where we've gone, what role do you think the community can play in helping maintain a healthy mindset for these young folks?
Yeah. So as far as from the community standpoint, community is a powerful protective factor, especially when talking around, mental health. And that's the perspective that, I kind of would use. A lot of times, people can feel connected, and isolation, right? And so not having that healthy type of mindset kind of just reinforces that feeling of aloneness or being isolated and not being connected. So communities, factors such as our churches, our fraternities and sorority, colleges, universities, right? So they all play a healthy role as far as with that, bringing that community feel with establishing that healthy mindset. I would even also say for the students, right, having peer conversations, right, that one-on-one conversation, people that you feel comfortable with, also create that safer, type of feel, giving that gateway that if a person needs to speak to that professional help or that professional support, then hopefully that peer conversation can be that safe gateway of guiding them there through to that perspective there. Also, just basically, just healthy communities can just create just a mutual respect and just a collective type of resilience for things around us as far as community.
No, cool, because it's I don't know, it's interesting. Saying as far as like you said, community wise, and then again with media and what kids are being presented with without the ability to understand it because of their youth, but also with the purposeful manipulation of what they're seeing, so it'll be intentionally misconstrued. When you
Can I add right there? Real quick?
Yeah.
So I left this comment in the chat as well. And so with working with youth for the past 15 years, man, I think that it's important for us to mention this as well, because I think Capital J said this as well, that the youth are hungry for that information. Was that you, Capital J?
Yeah.
I think you're spot on with that, man. And I think that, again, we got to get back communal, right? So how many kids do we spend time with? Do we even go to the local recs anymore? Do we even go to the local schools and read to the kids and, have that relationship with our own youth that are in the communities? Because what you'll find out is that they can't wait to talk to you. They can't wait to learn what Capital J knows about music, right? Or what Mr. Watkins can share with them about his life and all of that. They're going to get tired of asking you. I mean, you will get tired of answering their questions because you're just going to be pouring out. So I would encourage that our older gentlemen and older young ladies in our community continue to invest back into the community by going into the parts of that community where we already are, because you'll find out that connection is going to be instant, right? Because they cannot wait to talk to you. And so even if y'all come on campus, I'm literally working at Winston-Salem State. If y'all ever want to come up there, I'll show y'all, like, literally. I'll call students, and there'll be 10 students in my office just asking you questions. Oh, so what do you do? Okay, so where do you work? So on and so forth, right? They're so excited to talk to us. And the thing is that we have this, we have to, I'm gonna bring this up and throw this in there. In our Black community, we do have a strong individualistic nature going on in our community, where we think that we're one of one and we don't need to talk to these other people and we don't need to be a part of these people, so on and so forth, right? So we are literally dealing with a state of desegregation, and we're desegregating ourselves now, right? So yeah, I would encourage us to get the youth are there. They ain't going nowhere, right? Some of us know their fathers or know the mothers that are raising children alone and all of that. Let's get down in there and see what they got going on. Just pull up on them. I promise you, you're never going to be bored. I promise you that.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely good points. Richard, I want to follow up just to kind of just let you double down on the mental health aspect of this, because we, mentioning, kind of music and how that's a little bit different now compared to where it was. And what are some coping mechanisms for some of the young folks? Because back in the day, music used to be a release. As Capital J said, that music. Back in the day, you put on the music and things, you start firing your mind and relax your body down when you put the record on, certain songs on. But what are some ways that young folks could help to try to maintain and not become overwhelmed from this flood of information, definitely the flood of negative information?
Yeah. So, definitely, as far as those coping strategies that you just mentioned, first, just acknowledge the emotion itself. A lot of times people may feel overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, anxiety comes into play as far as with this right here. But all of those are valid responses to things that's going on, sometimes social injustice, or uncertainty too as well. But all those things are valid responses. But the first thing to do is just acknowledge those emotions there. Some of the other things that we can do too as well is maybe some grounding, techniques where we implement some type of mindfulness or slow breathing techniques, going out for a walk, just regulating those nervous systems, right, to kind of relieve some of those tensions. Because a lot of times that's one of the physical aspects that happens is you tend to tense up, right? So one of those constructive outlets, which you mentioned as far as music, music is definitely a constructive outlet as far as with just releasing, some of those emotions. Arts is there too as well, journaling, doing things like that. And again, that communication factor with, talking with somebody that you trust, again, whether that be a peer, an instructor, a mentor, even, your pastor or so, something like that, but somebody that you trust. That communication factor is as another outlet as far as that strategies for that. So I would also say setting boundaries for yourself. A lot of times, conversations like this can be, a lot, and it can cause, to you to be more reactive to the conversation instead of having a thoughtful type of conversation, if you will. So, sometimes you got to just learn how to just set boundaries from yourself, that if you feel, that your emotion, is getting you there within that conversation, set your boundaries for yourself and remove yourself, from that conversation. And again, also just reaching out for that professional help. These emotions, or processing these emotions, can be complex, at times. But the main thing is that, we want you to have that, that healthy, type of mindset, so that you can be, well informed and educated too as well, in this process. So just reaching out to that professional help, having those conversations, using those techniques, and just acknowledging the emotion that's there.
Mr. Watkins, do you think that it'd be helpful to, and thank you for that. That was a beautiful description. We appreciate that. I have a question for you though. If I was a fifth grader, how would you explain to me what therapy is, what counseling is, what emotions are? That sort of thing. You don't have to answer that. That's a rhetorical question. But I say that to say that, when I was growing up, man, if I was expressing anger, that's the only thing I knew, is that I was mad, right? So like, I think that it would be cool to like have some, to your point about running your counseling center and all of that, getting a description of what, different types of emotions are, what trauma is, what type of traumas there are, right? Because once you start putting identity behind these things, showing some pictures, showing some videos, some reactions of what these terms mean, now you can have that language to maybe communicate how you're feeling, what you're feeling, what you're going to do with those feelings once you get them, and all of that. Because again, once they reach us at that college level, man, they've been, folk been blowing up, for 10, 15, 18 years at this point, right? So like that's what I mean about like really getting in that community, from that aspect of like from the counseling side or whatever have you, from the mental health side before you get to the professional, teaching them how to work through that at a youthful age, and again doing it in a fun way where they can learn that. So my question to you would be just, what's the best way to kind of get to the youth in your point of view to, get them to describe the feelings and emotions that they are having and how to navigate that?
Yeah, and I would say it's just conversation, right? Just know that this is just a conversation between the two. There's no right or wrong answer,
Right.
as far as what we're sharing. But it starts about having not only just a conversation, but in an intentional type of conversation. So not only with youth, but for college students as well, right? When we have platforms, creating these dialogues or spaces like this for support and wellness, I think that being more intentional, with the conversation instead of having more of a debate type of, style, right? But hear from other people's perspective, learn from other people too as well, right? A lot of times, if we let youth drive the conversation and tell us as far as how they're feeling, we can get to the common ground as far as what we need to get to, as far as to establish a plan of care, right? But I think it starts with having things like that, start having small groups on campus, too as well, different type of workshops, reflections, type of circles or formats that you can have to just help normalize the conversation around things like this. And that may be the biggest thing there. It's just normalizing all this, right? Because it may seem that, where, you have all these stigmas that comes to play. If I feel this type of way, then I'm considered this, so maybe normalizing the conversation, letting them know that it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to express as far as how you're feeling. But as we're talking about this, let's create some positive ways as far as how we can allow you to process these emotions right here.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Also, too, with Capital J, man, I was thinking about you and just the music part when you mentioned Marvin Gaye. I think that also frequency is real as well, right? So all of us,
Yes.
using music and mental health could be very powerful, because right now I can tell you a couple songs that I can play right now that'll get me to calm down. One of them is Stevie Wonder, As, right? I can literally, get my frequency to tune into something calmer when I'm going through something. So, have you ever used like music like that, Capital J, to
Listen,
like?
man, I like if y'all got a second. These are things I noticed around the time that 3-6 Mafia came out. The name of the label,
Mafia?
yeah, the name of their label is Hypnotized Minds. And I started noticing that they use a bass lines in all their music. And I watched what it did to people in the club. Like it wasn't just the lyrics, it's that, they're like you said, the frequencies. They tune into a frequency that cause anger and discourse. And I saw it in real life, and then other artists started honing in on those frequencies. And there was a kind of music that I could not play for a crowd because it would always stir up negative energy. Then you go to church and you see the effect that music has when the preacher's talking, and the man on the organ is the DJ. He's doing exactly what I'm doing in the club. He's trying to stir you up. I want to get you sweaty and get you hyped. He's getting you hyped. He knows what notes to right behind the preacher, and then when they hit that up tempo, boot chat, boot chat, boot chat, boot chat, boot chat. That's like me dropping house music or percolator in the church. What do people start doing? It sets it off. Music, like, it can make you do anything. You won't even know it's happening. Like you said, it'll make you calm down. It'll make you angry. It'll make you sad. There are songs I listen to that can make me sad. So you have to monitor what kids, like, you have to also teach them about this and what they're listening to and how they're feeding their spirit from day to day. Because you talk about mental health. this stuff over time will affect your mental health. If all you do is feed negative energy through those frequencies into your spirit, you will eventually become that. You know, we've seen it happen, you know.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, you know, there's a balance of music too, Capital J, man. I don't know if you'll agree with that, but like there's a balance of music that we had. You know, I'm a kid, you know, I was born in 1986. So like I was 10 years old in 96, or excuse me, 86. I was born in 86, but I was 10 years old in 96 when, you know, your Nas's, your Biggies were there, but you also had, you know, Mint Condition. You also had Lauryn Hill. We even had Sister Act 2 back in the Habit. So it was like so many different ways to express what you're talking about right now, which is where
we were well rounded for the last time. That was when it started to end.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So I grew up. I know exactly what you mean because again, listening to Wu-Tang and then listening to Music Soul Child is two totally different vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so,
right. Wu-Tang had they honed in on that vibration for a little bit on certain songs. You know, it's just the energy, and yeah, man. So there's so much in that, and it all ties in, especially the mental health. You know, sometimes don't sit around and listen to a whole bunch of depressing music. You know.
No, you're right about that because it seeps down into you. I mean, especially when you listen to it on repeat, you just get into your subconscious.
Yeah.
It's funny when you mentioned Wu-Tang in that. I grew up as a Wu-Tang fan, and coming from Henderson, I wasn't exposed to a lot. And at Central for our MPA program, we had to do a presentation, a portfolio presentation to kind of discuss all of what you've done in the program so far and how you want to apply that to to your future. You know, kind of make that presentation to the professors that you're being proactive in your career. And the way I started mine off was I talked about Wu-Tang. I'm like, hey, I came from Henderson. I didn't know much, but I used to listen to Wu-Tang. I didn't know what them dudes were talking about, so I had to read and study to figure out all these names they're dropping, historical stuff. They had a lot of jazz in the music. So I'm over here reading a lot of notes. Yeah, reading a lot of notes. I'm getting hip to all these different artists, artists I might have heard of, but now I'm hearing a different light, reading into it. It was good to me. So, music back in the day was really helpful, but just got to note, Richard, you were about to jump off. Did you want to, any final words before you sign off there, my friend?
Yeah, again, appreciate the time for having me on here today. But just wanted to leave this last thing with you. Wellness and awareness can both coexist. Just remind us of that right there. And I believe that if Carter G. Woodson, the brother Carter G. Woodson, was still alive today, that he will remind us that voting is not just a right. It's a result of mental freedom, education, and collective responsibility. And when our minds are healthy and informed, our voices cannot be ignored. So again, thank you for the time. I'm sorry I have to jump on to another meeting right here at 7 o'clock, but I appreciate your time and thanks for having me.
No, thank you for bringing mental health perspective to the conversation.
Yeah. Peace, bro.
Yeah. But the mental health aspect of it's very, very important because we got kids out here involved in a lot, and it's a hectic world that they're in, especially these college age kids, because it's a lot going on. To the kind of from the previous conversation, we're talking about music, and we're talking about music that had that substance. One thing that popped in my mind was Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly," and I'm a big jazz fan, and the way they had so much jazz and spoken word mixed into with the hip hop, it was profound for me as a listener, especially at the time that it came out, because I mean, you even had a protest anthem right in the middle of that, and I was surprised how widely it was accepted, and I was proud of the young man for putting that much effort into it, because you can listen to it, you can tell that wasn't just to jump in the studio and make a track. They put in
That
some
was
work.
full artistry right there. That was the thing that I'm talking about that gets everything firing. Like he did that, and I'm not saying it doesn't ever exist, but it's like, I would expect that if the biggest artist in our culture does it, then it'll inspire other people. But instead, NLE Chopper will inspire more NLE Chopper copies than Kendrick Lamar copies. And we start seeing a bunch of, and you hear more of that. And that balance that you were talking about, Rashad, that's, if it still existed today, we would have 3 or 4 more cats in the vein of Kendrick Lamar who are charting right now in the top 20.
Yeah.
Because of popularity.
If I may add this, the reason why we have more NLE Choppers and not Kendrick Lamar, y'all know, like I know, that takes years of education, right? And years of downloading and going to a spiritual conscious place to produce that. Think about, Nas, for instance, right? And what his name means, Nasir, right? All of that, like the etymology of words, right? Consciousness and all of that, right? It doesn't take consciousness to produce some records, right? It doesn't do that. You can just, just make the record, right? But the thing is, y'all know, like I know, that it's popular that our K-12 system is only giving education in this particular way, right? And if you spend any amount of time around our youth, we would understand as a populace that all of us learn best by the cyclical nature of life, right? So reading, writing, arithmetic, astrology, science, music, all of those things have to be learned together. You see what I'm saying? So when you put them things together, which is the way we like to learn, despite what people think, when we learn like that, to your point, Mr. Crews, that jazz element and all of that, they need a capital J there to take them back to D'Angelo, right? To take them back to Prince, to take them back to all of the great jazz, more of the music and jazz artists that use this influence across this. Because I guarantee you, to your point about earlier, Capital J talking about the work that you do and connecting those pieces of music. I use I forget the app now, but basically Who Sampled This, right?
Right. Who Sampled?
Who Sampled. I love that app because it tells you how much music is connected and who used what throughout the years, right? How amazing of a class would that have been, right? To figure out that Villas, right, by Quincy Jones, was used by Casey and JoJo, right? And Get On Up, right? So that's kind of the cool connection that's right. You can, that's right. You know what I'm saying? So thinking about just that frequency alone, right? How you connected those dots, they are hungry for that. I'm telling y'all, they are hungry for that. So if you just pull it up, there's a sister online right now. This is the powerful piece about social media as well. There's a sister online right now that has a DJ in class. I don't know if you guys have seen her, but she has a whole DJ in class where she does nothing but teach them how to mix music. And she puts those that instruction up for people to see.
You were talking about the full circle of learning. As a DJ, I tell people all the time, like, math is the basis for learning everything. Like, if you want to be good at anything, start with math. The better you understand geometry, the better you understand odd and even numbers, for example. You have to understand that before you'll understand music, and when you put it all together, to become a good DJ, you're becoming a mathematician while you're doing it. So when she's teaching people how to mix, well, you're only going to drop it on the, on the 4 count, 8 count, 16 count, or 32 count, 64 count, and then you automatically notice, okay, it's going 4 to 16 to 32. You're counting constantly. And as you do that, you're working a part of your brain that, that needs exercise. And it's not going to get exercise with AI doing everything for you. And that's why, we're being dumbed down. We're not going to be able to think for ourselves before long because our brains aren't getting exercise.
No, that's a good point. That's a doggone good point. And that actually makes me think of one of the questions that they have, I guess, that was put in here, like when you're thinking about elections. And, you know, one of the things that I was, that I was thinking is, you know, we tell people to vote and get them to vote, then people be like, oh, why am I voting? It doesn't mean anything. But, you know, one thing about voting is, you know, elections have consequences. And one of the consequences of a lot of the elections we've had is, you know, people being put in places, especially in charge of the budgets of school systems and in charge of the curriculum making. As you can see now, I mean, in a lot of places, they've taken music out of schools. So a lot of kids, you know, back when you're in elementary school, that was just part. I mean, back in the 80s, you know, we thought it was just fun playing around, but you used to get, you know, somebody would come around and bring the little congas and have everybody play around and teach them a little basic stuff, or, you know, have robust band programs in middle school and feed it into high school and stuff. So kids were getting exposed to that and having opportunities for that. And now it's defunded from that early age. But one thing I've learned, I was a band kid in high school, and I played at I marched to Fayetteville State, was, man, that opened my brain up, because like you said, you have to count. I mean, you're doing time, and in marching band, you playing, you got to follow, you got to play the music, got to know the music, know the key and all that kind of stuff. You're marching, so your steps got to be on point, especially doing field shows. So you're doing 8 to 5s, and you got to be able to hit the right space without even looking, because you might hit somebody. And then, you know, also you're looking at the person beside you, you're looking at the drum major in front of you, the band director. You know, it makes your brain, it trains your brain and gives it so much exercise. That's helped me out as much as anything, that and sports. But yeah, a lot of kids don't have that opportunity now, not because they didn't choose to, because the opportunity is not presented to them, or not given to them, because it doesn't have that direct effect, or at least they use that economic thing of it doesn't have a direct effect on them. But I really think that lack of music education is something that could benefit kids. But again, that's the benefit of, or that's the purpose of voting and participating in the political system in your area, is so that you can make sure that initiatives that you think are beneficial to the children are actually invested in. And you do have some folks who are like-minded, who think the same way or respect the same values that you have, in control of the budgets of those kind of programs that affect you and your family and your community and generations. But the next question I had, just kind of wanted to kind of think about, you know, again, thinking about how this stuff is affecting college students, the students over there at Winston-Salem. There's a lot of stuff going on, like I mentioned, especially out in the streets. You know, we mentioned social media and how that's affecting. We got all this stuff, you know, elections have consequences. You got ICE everywhere. You got them taking over cities. You got a crazy amount of protests. You know, they were protesting the administration. Now they're protesting, you know, ICE and these deportations and the way that's being handled. Capital J, when we're talking to students, we know the importance of music, but you know, how can these students critically engage with music beyond the entertainment aspect of it and recognize the cultural side of their messaging?
The cultural side of the messaging, well, in today's music, you mean?
Yeah.
Ooh. For today's student, I don't know, like we were talking earlier. Okay, we know that students are seeking information, and we're not the monolith that people try to paint us to be. So I think, you know, there's plenty available. I think today, to interpret what's going on right now for today's student, man, they have to get out there first and find a community that's like-minded. And, you know, and that takes work when this type of music isn't the main thing. So for them to be able to activate their community, it's going to take work for them, because it's not pushed out there. So So the first thing is, you know, somebody's gonna have to organize, you know, people who are into the kind of music that creates social movement have to organize, seek each other out, and form a group. That goes back to the social structure that we talked about. Then action starts. But they need to connect first. So, you know, as a student right now, if I wanted to connect with that part of the culture, you know, I'm gonna find today that starts on the internet. Back in the day, that started by actually going to some place where they would physically gather. But I guess today that would start on the internet. So
no, good stuff. And also, as you think about that, you know, and I mentioned the protest side of it. You just mentioned, you know, folks coming together in those social gatherings. You know, back in the day when folks actually used to listen to music together, and you know, their vibe out together. The music really, you know, got into folks. So here, give me this, and this kind of goes on what you just said in that first question I asked you. In what ways has protest music kind of evolved over generations then?
I think it's devolved. You know, like we just don't have it anymore. Like there's no, as much stuff is going on right now. There's no real protest anthem that we immediately associate with this moment in time. And we kind of have something surrounding all those other, like in life, you know, we remember the songs. Like let's say when Martin Luther King got killed, you know, like the people during that time period, they remember the anthems that came surrounding that incident. You know, when Rodney King, we remember the anthems around that incident. Even when Tawana Brawley, you know, we remember Public Enemy and all of them showing up for that incident. But let's say Trayvon Martin, I think Lil Baby made a song. I remember Lil Baby being associated with that incident. But since then, you know, George Floyd, I don't remember the song associated with that troubled time. And we've had many since then, and I don't know if we're gonna get them anymore because it doesn't seem like our artists care anymore.
No, that's interesting that you said that. When you say it doesn't seem like the artists care anymore, what aspect do you mean? Is it more of I guess their focus is making money rather than informing up folks, or they just don't care about the quality of music? I
don't think they care. Like artists don't care about the community anymore. Not all of them. Like, you know, because like I said, we can always throw out some artists who absolutely are 100% for the community. I'm always going to speak to this stuff. But those artists used to be our top tier, you know, not top tier as far as quality. Top tiers, and these are our top money makers, our top earners, our top 10%. In our top 10% in those ranks anymore, we don't have people who speak out. And those people used to speak out. So those people used to include Jim Brown, James Brown, you know, Marvin Gaye. Today, it includes Kendrick Lamar.
Hard to keep going after that one.
I like to say there's a couple of things going on right here, right? Because although Capital J is making a lot of good points as well, this is where we got to connect everything, right? Because during that time with the artists that you're talking about, the community itself was connected, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where history has to play a role, and politics, to your point. With politics, I was just talking to a friend of mine. He just commented, actually, Brother Russell. With politics, they've been trying to break us up since the beginning of time, right? And so during that 80s and that cocaine crack era, when them daddies was leaving them houses, the mamas was raising kids by themselves, all of that sort of stuff. All of those movements had different theme songs that were unhealthy for our community, right? Because like we talked about, frequency was the thing. Then going through the 90s, we had, another dissension piece with, still was a little bit connected and balanced. But, going into what I like to talk about is getting to artists like a La Russell, right? Talking about the actual humanness of being a human being, right? If you've ever listened to his music, right? Dude's literally throwing concerts in his backyard with his community of all colors, classes, and creeds, right? To educate people on just being a human being.
He's relatable.
Artists, yeah, relatable. And so, and then also I want to talk about a Nipsey Hussle, God rest his soul, right? Nipsey Hussle literally encouraged people to read, encouraged people to move away from gang culture. Literally was the day before he died, he had a meeting that week with the police, the Bloods and the Crips in LA to talk about the humanness of his art form and all of that, right? So I'm not combating this piece. I just want to connect that piece with you that I think in today's time, they're seeing the fakeness of these systems, right? America is not what America said they were going to be on paper, to be quite honest with you. So when you're talking about how those messages were there, the community was already there, right? Because we had already, people had already had likened backgrounds, right? But now when you get that dissension between the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, you need different things to help us connect back together. So the music is important, but education is important as well. But again, when you get artists like a Nipsey Hussle and you get into literally, breaking down his lyrics and understanding that he was literally breaking the system down in his lyrics, right? Those sorts of things inspire other artists to do different things, right? So you got this interesting space where, to your point, where it may start on the internet. I'm telling you right now that the young mind, the one thing about our youth, for sure, from working with them, is that they may not know what they're looking for, but they for sure can tell when something ain't right. It just ain't vibing right. And we all can relate to that, right? We just like, I don't know what it is, but something about this is not a vibe, right? So imagine having that and trying to figure out what that is. Now, again, as an educator here tonight, I like to tell y'all my job as an educator is not to pour education into the student. It's for me to pull out of the student what's already there, right? So the most powerful thing that you can do for human beings at this aspect is show them something fake, right? And then watch their curious mind activate and then look for the knowledge that they're seeking, right? Because once they do that, now it's our job right here to be there to educate them, because they seek it. I'm telling you, they are seeking that knowledge right now. As we're having this talk right now, they're like, what's up? I thought something was, gone awry. Is that why political messaging is a thing? Is that why Rodney King went through all of that? Is that why Trayvon Martin went through that? They're going to connect those dots because we're in the age of truth. We're in the age of Aries right now, right? So like being able to kind of connect them dots and help them do that, we got to be there for that, right? But in order to do that, we need to understand what what questions they're asking, and being unafraid to answer those questions as well. And this is from 25 to 225, right? We got to be able to, answer all of those and connect those things. So to your point, brother Capital J, I think that those messages are powerful, but they need to be connected all the way down the line.
No, that's a good point. That makes me think of the bait and switch. We were sold a certain thing and we ordered that American dream, but when the Amazon package was delivered, we got an American nightmare. It was like, oh man, hold up, this ain't what I wanted. But Rashad, just kind of build on what you were saying. I had one question in mind, but you kind of answered that in your comments a second ago. But how can students and young folks balance staying informed online while protecting their emotional well-being?
So that goes back to mental wellness as well. So I think that as you're navigating mental wellness and your well-being, you need to be having talks online and offline about the things that you're seeing online, because you can, as I said, with that algorithm, you can search anything on TikTok, right? Hashtag this, phrase this, phrase that, right? So you're able to kind of tune that and that algorithm to what you want it to be. But in order to be informed about it, you need to learn both sides, right? Why does this exist? Literally ask your brain, why does this exist? How did this point of view come about? What are they actually talking about versus how I feel, right? And then taking this to your friends offline, to Capital J's point, where the movement was outside and it was online. Go and get with your friends and say, hey, y'all, I saw this online today. Hey, what do y'all think about this? Right. And you'll start to, kind of have that mind melt of students getting together, kind of talking about these issues, because you're going to do it anyway. Right. We do that now in group chats. We do that now in DMs. We do all of that now. But then I actually getting together with people and just having these conversations at parties, having these conversations just on a random Saturday around a barbecue or something like that. It's how you get that done, because we're still communal people. It's just we have to do it in a different way. It just looks different. But I'm telling you, let something go kind of crazy, and we're gonna be looking at each other like, "Hey, man, you saw that, right?" And we're gonna be like, "Oh, that's kind of crazy." And then somebody that is one of our elders might say, "Hey, man, this is same stuff, different channel," right? And we're like, "Well, what you mean by that?" Right? And then they educate us, because the one thing about young people that they make the mistake of this thought process right here. They think that they're the first people in this day and time that have ever gone through these things in this day and time, right? But if we're not there to educate them, to tell them, hey, dog, the lights was on before y'all got here, right? Let me put you on game of how this thing has kind of come full circle for me to help you, right? And a lot of them are appreciative of that, right? They're like, oh, so that's how that used to be done. Okay, boom. So that's why this is happening. That's why they're saying these things. Because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, they've been arguing since the beginning of time with the Democratic and the Republican Party. Why are those two parties the two parties that people give their life to in terms of, like, arguing about this and that, but they don't put as much emphasis on the local community, right? Who are your local people that you need to vote on? To your point earlier, Mr. Crews, who are your local people? What are they running on? What does their ticket say? So on and so forth. What side of town do you stay on? What does your side of town have that this other side of town has that you would want in your side of town? So it's, again, that cyclical nature of education. You see how it has to all relate, right? Because to get the tools and stuff that we need in our communities, we need to be educated fully about why everything connects and how we can do that. So for to land this plane here, I would say that in order to figure out what you need to be searching online, you also need to understand that is directly connected to how you're going to feel about it. And protecting your well-being is being educated about what you're looking at and being able to talk about both sides without fully engaging all the time in an emotion.
No, that was fantastic. And while we still have a little bit more time for a good, robust and response, Capital J, I want to throw this one to you. Kind of the same question as far as balance wise. And I like to hear your opinion on how can young folks kind of find a balance while listening to music and getting into portion.
I think we're in a good place today for balance, because as much as we complain about how things are marketed, streaming has made it so that you can really just kind of seek out what you want. Music used to be more of a shared experience. Like, hit songs were shared differently, but today one group can totally miss a hit song because they don't pay attention to the medium that it's a hit on. And so today they have better options to find what they're looking for. Like, I have my youngest son, and he listens to stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s just because it's available to him. He's not constantly sitting around listening to the radio the way that we were, so he's not fed a diet of a certain type of music. You feel me? So today I think kids they have an advantage being able to listen to so much that I think it's a new thing though. This is something that's new. It wasn't like this 10, 15 years ago. So I think we'll start to see that they're not going to be stuck on one thing. The variety's coming back that we were used to. The kids are able to find what they like and get right on it, you know. And as far as but I haven't seen a pattern towards, you know, towards today's youth looking for a particular type of education inside of the music, you know. But I do see them seeking out the full spectrum of sound that we enjoyed back in the day. So, and I think that now they can have it whenever they want it. So they're not waiting to be fed anything anymore. And that's a good thing.
No, that's cool. That kind of made me think. I don't know how this relates, but I remember back when I was coming up in the late 90s, man, the DJs used to play everything. You know what I'm saying? They're going to hit you with a, you know, you're going to have your New York set. They're going to have a Dirty South set. They're going to have a reggae set. They're going to have a house set up in there. You know, you go in the party, get a look at everything. And you know, I don't know, it made you connected. I think music was regional. I think I heard an article talking about how allowing local radio stations to be bought out by bigger corporations, to where it kind of hurt regional artists from being able to come up in their local networks, and they had to everything had to be mainstream compared to back in the day. Every region you could thrive through your own local area.
That was 1996. I started commercial radio that year. And I immediately saw the difference because, you know, I fought for the whole time I was on there to make sure local artists were able to be heard. And, you know, we were one of the few stations that we would still put a local artist on rotation every now and then. But you got less and less of that. And over time, you know, which kept us from educating ourselves properly. Speaking of, since this is always, you know, it's all about Carter G. Woodson, and the whole thing was the miseducation of, you know, he was about making sure that everybody knew the contributions of Black people, which is, of course, why he invented Black History Month too, but that's important. Like you're talking about for the whole cycle, to know why things work. You also need to know why are Black people important in the country to help understand why you need us, you know.
In the world, brother.
In the world.
Not right. Just in.
Right. So this education, and we got a lot of that education through our music too. I can honestly say that era from 88 to probably about 92. You know, you talked about hearing Wu-Tang, you went and you looked up some things, you learned some stuff. Well, think about how many people gain knowledge of our own culture that they never would have known because of Public Enemy, X-Clan,
Queen
Latifah, you know, the Jungle Brothers. You're sitting here just looking at the album cover, and you're like, Tribe Called Quest. They're mentioning things that sparked an interest. And so, you know, Carter G. Woodson would have been proud of that era. And I think that today that can be repeated. And I think we're in a good time and place for it, because as much as the gatekeepers have a hold of what comes on the television and radio, they don't have a hold on what people pick and choose to stream. You know, of course, stuff is sent your way, but at the end of the day, you can still pick whatever you want. And I think we'll see a rise in good educational music and people choosing it. You know, I think today's college student has so many options, you know, and being like, you know, these cats, especially Winston-Salem State, when I meet students at Winston-Salem State and places like this, like I like what I see in today's college students. You know, I really do. You know, I coach AAU. I had the 2024 class since they were in about the 6th grade, and I'm coaching these guys. I'm watching them. You know, you talk about emotional health. I've seen, you know, where they were emotionally vulnerable, but I watch these people in college now, and I'm it's not as bad as what the media makes us appear to be. But not at all.
Because they're seeking that knowledge. Again, we know what's real and what's fake. We may not know how to identify it, but we know, like, literally, if anybody's on this call tonight and you and I'm inviting you to come to Winston-Salem State and just sit with the youth, that, you know, just sit with our students. I'm telling you, they are some of the best geniuses, little geniuses you've ever. Now, again, they're gonna be youthful and stuff like that, but they know what they're talking about, right? They know what they may not know how to identify everything that capital J is saying, right? But they know how they want it to feel, right? That feeling is not gone. They know how they want to be educated. They want to know. They know how they want to be, you know, how that education to be delivered to them. They know what they want to read. They know what they want to study. They know how they want that education to make them proud to understand it. To your point, capital J, about, like, literally, if we just went through the Black inventors list alone, we could just teach a class on that alone, right? and just break that genius down, right? In the month of Black History Month, man. If we just broke that genius down alone, our students would be just through the roof, right? And a lot of people would. That's correct. That's correct. But there, you know, again, you know, I don't know if we have enough time, but we can get into population control and the ills behind that. But I don't want to get into that. But yeah, definitely it's there for sure.
Nah, and I would say this, man. I mean, we all, I mean, especially our generation, well, you know, our generation, the kids grew up in the 80s and stuff. Our parents came straight out of the civil rights movement. So Black History Month meant something to us because it's really a chance for, and it was in our music. And, you know, we knew and we were told of the folks, you know, they always say, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants. And those people were present to us, and it was celebrated. Now it's a matter of, you know, fortunately, we do have a lot of kids who are open to it, but it's not being put out as much. And especially with some of these current initiatives from our administration, you know, the anti-woke stuff, or trying to get rid of DEI, trying to make it seem like it's bad or anti-American. But I think we have to push, especially for young Black students, have to push them to know their history. So they know that, you know, it's nothing new under the sun. This stuff has been happening. These people have had these thoughts before. These people have been through what you're going through before. These people have been through worse than what you're going through before. And also the people who went through stuff so that you don't have to go through stuff. So that they have that perspective in mind, so it can calm them down, because that idea of, you know, they're alone and that these things are special and there are no answers and they can't get through it. We don't want to have a generation of people who have a thought that they're hopeless, and they give up and start doing reckless activities. We want our young generation to have a positive outlook on life, understand that, you know, yes, things are tough, but we shall overcome. We can push forward if we stay positive and we build the community that we're in. And, you know, if my neighbor's doing well, then they're going to make sure I'm doing well. You know, just making sure that they have that approach, but at least have enough positivity to keep pressing forward and progressing. Because as a people, we have to keep on pressing and keep building on what our ancestors have done to get us to where we are now. As bad as it might look on TV, it ain't as bad as it was before TV was there. Rashad, you got a question?
I'd like to add. Yeah, I'd just like to add here. I always talk to my students about this because it's something that I learned along my journey, and I'm going to share it here today. There's always going to be resistance, right? Resistance is there, so it'll know how you show up, right? So positivity is there, and negativity is going to be there, right? But if we start looking at, you know, the hard times in life as like our life dojo in a sense, right? Where literally it's showing up to teach us more about ourselves and how we need to deliver that information, right? Because from pressure makes diamonds, right? So the thing is, like, when you're under pressure, what is it? What is the creativity that needs to happen from there? Because to all of our point on here, you know, if we've listened to any type of music or any type of watch any film or people overcoming different things, all of that's been a part of that story the entire time, right? You can watch any documentary to know that, right? So I would encourage young people as well to write down those challenges that you have in your life, right? Because to your point, nothing's new under the sun. But at the same time, when you start writing down them challenges, there's nobody on planet Earth that hasn't had that challenge and overcame it, right? And somebody has written a song about it. Somebody's written a book about it. Somebody's written a TV show about it, so on and so forth. And so if they did it and can get over it, you can get over it as well. So start looking at challenges and problems as a way to present yourself in a different light, and in overcoming it, because what you become during that process, you will never be again, So looking at yourself, to say, well, you know what, I want to come out on the other side of this better, then I got to go through this particular challenge, right?
No, great comments, and I guess we're pushing towards the time supposed to end around 7:30. We're a little bit past it, but I grew up in a Baptist church, so the clock, it's not as important. But Rashad, that was a good point. Capital J, I want to give you opportunity if you got any other last thoughts before we do wrap up. Anything you want to put a bow
on? Well, I want to say more than anything, for today's college students, if you're in there listening, it's so important to take seriously what your elders are teaching you, because it only takes a generation for you to fall for the same tricks that 2 generations we fell for. And that's sad, it should take 4 or 5 generations, because we should be spreading the knowledge. We fought for voting rights in the 60s, and here it is 80 years later, 60 years later, and we're about, could literally lose voting rights, so we're not teaching the next generation about the struggle. That's why, certain drugs come back, like heroin. We knew about heroin because our parents' generation had to deal with heroin. So we didn't do heroin. We didn't teach our kids about heroin. Now we have an opioid epidemic for the next generation, just 1 generation later. So history is so important, and everything that's going on right now, like, people fought for these rights in the civil rights movement, and they taught us, and our kids don't know. Our kids literally don't know who Martin Luther King is, some of them. And I'm not lying. I taught high school for a second, and this was in 1997. And some kids did not know who Martin Luther King was. They thought he was a freed slave. So that lets you know how bad 1 generation can drop the ball.
Yeah.
Luther King is not ancient history. We're not talking about Jesus Christ. We're talking about a man that died a few years before most of us were born. So, we can't lose that history, or we'll be susceptible to repeating everything. So my parting words are: pay attention to history so that you'll understand what's coming your way, and you can avoid these traps.
Bam. No, that'll lead to the last thing I had to say. I get to work with I get to work with young guys on a regular basis recently, and it's beautiful, because seeing those minds develop and them taking the little jewels you can drop on them and do stuff with it actively. But it's I try to make sure I let them know this thing, and I learned this a long time ago. It's 2 ways to learn: the easy way and the hard way. The easy way to learn is to learn from the past, learn from other people, talk to people, let them learn from other people's mistakes. The hard way is to ignore all that, go out there in the world like you're doing it for the first time, and make all your own mistakes and learn from your own mistakes. So, I enjoy the easy way. I like to learn from the past and try not to be part of that cyclical side of history. But it's a lot of people that enjoy the hard way, and that hard life is not a life I would want a lot of the young people to purposefully take. And I mean, Rashad, do you have anything else you wanted to say? I know those last words you said were dope, but I want to make sure at least if you want to wrap anything up before we head out and bring Shalee back in.
Learn and do. That's it.
That's a good word. Well, it's been dope, everybody. Appreciate you. Thanks for having us. And we'll take it back to our gracious host here.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Got
Oh,
you
yeah.
now.
Okay, bet. All right. So it's funny, as you're wrapping up, and everyone's giving their last words, there were many times where, you know how like you're on a group chat or like you're on FaceTime and you're on mute and you want to come in and be like, yeah, or like, you want to like comment, and I had to keep like I've been talking to my screen this whole time. I appreciate all of the knowledge and the wisdom that you all have poured into this. I'll say this every time I do this, and I know Rashad hears me say this all the time. I'm like, man, we got to find a way to do this again. And in actuality, I want to find a way to do this more. I don't have my date in front of me. Shoot. But if everyone is on here, just keep tight. We are going to have our Ladies First program, which will happen in March. I think it's March. I'm not going to do that. Just look out. I'll be dropping that. Rashad, what you bopping to? Ladies First. Ooh. And just to let you all know, we brought this program back to a virtual platform because last year for the Miseducation, we were able to have Grammy-winning Pete Rock, and following that for Ladies First for 2025, we were able to bring Rhapsody. So I heard you guys bring up the name Rhapsody, and I will say I'm excited to kind of segue that into what we'll be able to hear and have conversations about with Ladies First. But one other thing about this is I like to do the Miseducation of in respect and tribute to Carter G. Woodson, and to have a male perspective on, you know, how we should or how we could foster different issues that are happening in the community. And I want to say that you guys did an amazing job by doing so. Marquis, thank you so much for being an amazing moderator. Rashad, one more time, two more times, three more times. Thank you so much for, wait a minute, let me, look, Capital J, I saw you clapping. I got to bring in my, I know I found something new. Let me find a little clap. Here we go.
Applause.
Here we go. One more time. Marquis, thank you so much, Mr. Crews, for being an amazing moderator. Yeah. Rashad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Thank you for always having my back when it comes to the ideas that I come up with that are a little different from what we normally do here at Winston-Salem State University, but we do capture the concept and we get the message out. So here's yours. Those claps are crazy. Big shout out to D Capital J, DJ Capital J. Y'all was able to talk, so I have to say this. Capital J, while I was at UNCG, helped me to become an intern at 102 Jams in like 99 to the 2000s. It was somewhere right there. No pun intended, but hey. And during that time, I was able to like sit back and watch history happen. 102 Jams having some of the most amazing on-air personalities, some of the most amazing, the original Mix Squad. You was able to see some interns come through there who are now amazing in their jobs, and it all came from like the hard work we was able to do at 102 Jams. And so I have to make sure I give a shout out to that time, and to now have you on an event with me. That's just kind of like, wow.
Thank you.
So
thank you very much.
You are a part of the foundation of why I am who I am today. I used to go to his house, y'all, and walls of albums and DJ J Flex, walls, and he would pull out the record, make me a mix. I'm talking from the record for what I needed for my dance team, not on CDs, not on MP3s or whatever. He had the original records and would make my mixes, and then they were recorded on tapes.
Yeah, Shalee would say, hey, at the end, can you put a bomb drop? I'm like, no, this is, mind you, there's no computer to press a button. So I'm looking through records. I'm like, golly, I know.
DMX. It was DMX.
DMX had one, and then Eric B. and Rakim had one at the end of Follow the Leader.
Yes.
I think that's the one right there. So I'm waiting. The mix is over. Then I'm like, Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now, Capital J. I'm gonna come to your house, man. I'm gonna just clean the records. Usually, go get me some water, but I ain't gonna be there when you get back, now.
That's what would be so dope, because it wouldn't only be me, it'd be some of my dance team members or whatever, and we'd be there for hours.
Yeah, they dancing the whole routine out because we got to time everything. It goes back to that count. You know, the math is involved in dancing too, because it's like, okay, we need like 16 before you change it up, because you know, so it's all math, man. It's all math.
Sure. Man, and I learned, and that's how I understand music today. That's how I understand music today, and it's wild. Like to go back in stories like this, it really gives me again a sense of my foundation. Like the students here at Woodson State, they don't really know what I have been privileged to be around.
They don't know.
You know, they just like, oh, that's Shalee. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. All right. So Capital J. Y'all, I'm loving this. I can't wait to do the show again. And
I was about to say, she done found a button, y'all.
I need those
equivalent to your grandma calling you in there and say, hey, do that little dance. Do that little dance. Come on, man.
But happy Black History Month to everyone. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to watch it again, it will play again on our WSSU Facebook page and YouTube. So if you want to go back and listen again to this, please do so. And I will also say to those of you, I have to say this: if you watched the halftime show and your problem was you didn't understand the message as far as the words because you didn't understand the language, go back and watch it and understand that there was a message deeper than that. And it touches on how I feel about Black History Month. There are many that don't understand our culture when it comes to being Black, when it comes to being African, when it comes to being Cuban American. I mean, we can keep going with that, but it's not that you don't understand the language or the culture. It's that you should sit, listen, and enjoy it, because I'm enjoying being Black. You know what I mean? And you know, touching on the halftime show, I just wish people would have stopped and just watched the show and just enjoy the joy of it, the culture, just watching how he took those workers who are the fabric of America, and you saw them work hard, but you also saw them come together with their families and just have a good time together. It was just I thought it was beautiful. I just want to make sure my message is out there to say I also Shazam the music, because I know some Bad Bunny music, you know what I mean, but to go back and just to enjoy it all over again, to learn the words, to be able to you know, take it in and feel and enjoy the culture of it was beautiful. So I just want to make sure I say that, because I'm just tired of hearing the negativity and people that shut off their TVs and didn't take time to, you know, just listen.
Well, Shalee, I'd like to add as well, for those of us that are listening to this and like to dive into history, there's a couple words I want you to look at. African diaspora. That's number one. And then the other thing that I want you to understand as well is that English wasn't always our first language, y'all. So there's that. I'll just chill. But go ahead, Shalee.
No, you did that. You did that right there, you know? So as you can tell, there's so many other ways that we can like keep digging into these conversations, but we're gonna go ahead and let everybody eat your dinner and get them kids ready, because tomorrow's day 2 and they need to take their tails back to school so they can continue to learn, and then they can be on this little panel one day. But one more time, thank you guys, everyone. And yeah, so that's it. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Look at this. Thank you all for tuning in to the 2026 edition version. What should I say?
Edition is good.
Edition of the Miseducation of Carter G. Woodson. We look forward to seeing you all next time. Have a good one.
All right.